Hi there, I'm Dr. Brenda Wade, your modern love doctor. And one of the hardest things about loving someone is seeing them become ill and losing a loved one. And I am here with Dr. Susan Catalano, and it is such an honor to be with you, Susan. And let me tell you why I invited Dr. Susan to be with us today. You're going to fall out of your chair because one of the illnesses that is so heartbreaking is Alzheimer's. I lost my dear mother to Alzheimer's, and it is a brutal illness, not just for the person who's suffering, but also for the family. To see someone that you care about not be able to relate to you or relate to life at all. And can you guess how many people have this illness in America? Well, Dr. Susan, I think it's every 62 seconds.
Every 65 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and it's a very sad statistic. By the time folks are in their 80s, 1 out of every 3 people have the disease.
And it starts early, doesn't it?
It can start quite early. It has a very insidious progression. And
now, one of the things I want you all to know before we talk more about the disease, the reason we are talking today is that there may be a medicine that can stop Alzheimer's on the horizon. That's what's exciting about this conversation. So you tune right in, because if you knew that there was a medicine that could cure it, wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to tell somebody you care about? So we have as early as 40, sometimes people showing signs of Alzheimer's, or the brain is changing?
Absolutely. The brain is changing 20 years in advance of the symptoms actually being present.
So being able to figure out that that's happening is part of the story. But tell us how you got interested. Dr. Susan Catalano, one of those rare, brilliant women scientists. How did you get interested in this illness and doing research in this area?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the brain, and like yourself, had family members, very dear family members, impacted by the disease and related dementias. So it's just a horrible thing to watch someone go through, and it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen. So why are you now standing on the edge of a medicine? Tell us about your research. You guys, honestly, you might want to write some of this down, because this is so amazing. I'm so excited.
Well, so I started a company, Cognition Therapeutics, that has discovered a drug that we believe can stop Alzheimer's disease. And we have a lot of science behind that. And right now, we're in clinical trials in Alzheimer's patients.
And this isn't the first trial.
It's not the first trial.
And it's not the second trial.
That's right.
Those two were successful. And we're on the third trial now. For those of you who are not geeks like Dr. Susan and I, that means if you make it through the first 2 trials, you've got something that's showing promise, a lot of promise. How much promise have we got?
Well, we've got some very interesting changes in the proteins in the brain that we're very excited about. And we're looking forward to what our current trials are going to tell us about.
Now, this is a different medication. My mother was on 2 or 3 medications that were designed to attack the plaque in the brain. And this is a completely different approach, the medication you're working on. What's different about it?
Well, this is the only medication of its kind. And this medication is designed to remove the toxin that we think is binding to the brain cells and causing the disease.
So actually remove the toxin rather than fight the toxin.
That's right. It actually gets it out of the brain.
Whoa. That is so different from the way the other meds work. Now, you're smiling as you say it. How are you feeling, thinking that you're on the verge of changing history, Dr. Susan?
Well, I certainly hope that we can do something for these poor patients. It's a devastating disease. It does not have to happen, and we're really hoping.
What's the cost? Because I know from my own personal experience, the cost to our family, I mean, it ate up everything that our mom had saved. Her home, everything went because of this illness.
Absolutely. Right now, There are 5.7 million Americans, and the cost of direct care for those folks is north of 200 billion per year.
Wow, billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
Holy moly, that is a lot. So I have to ask you this. Why haven't we had that cure already?
Brain diseases can be very difficult. The brain is very complicated,
Yes.
as you well know.
Yes.
And you help us with our brains all the time. And we really appreciate the good work that you do to help us with that. This disease, the number one risk factor is aging. And as you grow older and your ability to clear out these toxins is a little bit less than it was when you were younger, they build up in the brain and they really create a lot of complex changes. And I think it's because of that complexity that we've really not seen the cures that we were all hoping for.
Now, you've been at this for how long working on the cure?
Well, I've been in the Alzheimer's research field for a long time, but in this particular company for almost 12 years.
12 years. I have to say, what makes it slow going to get the science done?
Well, I think what you need are adequate resources to speed it up.
Resources, is that spelled Money?
No question.
Okay.
No question.
You know, that I have to say, that makes me crazy. Because if money's the only thing standing in the way of a possible cure, I mean, it just chokes me up. We have to do something. All right, so Susan, what do you want us to take away? An understanding about your work, understanding how close we might be to a cure for this devastating illness.
Well, that's a good question. I think we're going to hear from these trials, or going to see the results from these trials later on this year. And that will give us a good indication of whether we're on the right track and whether we're really seeing a difference in these patients' lives. So we're really looking forward to that.
Well, you've got indications from the first two trials that you're on the right track. Now you're looking for the definitive green light, yes?
We are. We're looking for one in a series of green lights that lets us know, yes, keep going down this path.
Okay. Wow. Well, everyone, you heard it here first from Dr. Susan Catalano. And you can go to that website. That's Cognition so it's COGRX, cognitiontherapeutics.com. Hit Dr. Susan back on Twitter at Cognition, that's COGRX.com, and tell her your story. Let her hear from you. If you or someone you love has this illness, and certainly if you know anybody with money who can help this life-changing, life-saving medication make it to the market, I'll see what I've got in my checkbook, Dr. Susan. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you so much.